Many Americans woke up on November 9, 2016, believing their country had suddenly changed overnight. But as documentary filmmaker Michael Moore points out, the belief that our institutional safeguards will automatically protect us is a dangerous illusion. Democracy is a frail blossom, and the systems designed to protect it had begun to crumble long before that election. To find the actual ground zero, where local democracy was actively suspended, you have to rewind to 2014 and look at Flint, Michigan. Under a Michigan state law known as Public Act 436, the governor was granted the authority to suspend local democracy in areas deemed financially distressed. The state appointed unelected emergency financial managers to seize control of the city. Overnight, elected mayors and city councils were stripped of their authority. To save money, these unelected managers made a unilateral decision. They switched the city's drinking water source from Detroit to the Flint River. As soon as residents turned on the tap, they were met with foul-smelling, discolored water. It was highly corrosive, inadequately treated, and dangerous. The water was so corrosive that it began rusting the engine parts at a local General Motors plant. When the corporation complained, the state promptly allowed GM to switch back to the clean water supply. The human residents of Flint were ignored and forced to keep using the river. Flint was 57% black, part of a pattern where Michigan used emergency management laws almost exclusively in cities with large numbers of black voters. By seizing these local budgets, the state effectively took potable water away from residents to pay down municipal debt, while granting corporate giants like GM the clean water they demanded for their machinery. This extraction of resources from black bodies to preserve capital is the definition of racial capitalism. Citizens and local pastors took to the streets. They held meetings, waved banners, and presented physical jars of contaminated water. Despite their desperate outcry, state officials dismissed them as liars for over a year, ignoring mounting evidence of skin rashes, hair loss, and severe lead poisoning in children. When a government actively poisons its own citizens to balance a spreadsheet and federal agencies fail to intervene, the social contract breaks. It creates a deep, alienating political vacuum. That exact sense of institutional abandonment paves the way for authoritarian populism. Donald Trump's rise was the predictable outcome of this long-term democratic erosion. To understand how this decay functions, we have to look to Italian philosopher Umberto Eco. Having grown up under Mussolini, Eco wrote a 1995 essay outlining the 14 features of what he called fascism, or eternal fascism. Historians like Timothy Snyder draw direct parallels between today and the dictatorships of the 1930s. Eco, however, warned against waiting for history to perfectly repeat its aesthetics. Modern fascism will arrive with a smiley face, disguised as necessary cost-cutting, patriotic duty, or corporate efficiency. This diagram captures Eco's 14 features. Look specifically at the appeal to a frustrated middle class. Authoritarianism explicitly targets groups suffering from economic pressure or political humiliation, exactly the kind of disenfranchisement engineered in places like Flint. Then it leverages that frustration. It fabricates an obsession with a plot, the idea that the nation is besieged by intruders. It weaponizes a fear of difference to divide the working class and target marginalized groups. It relies heavily on newspeak, which is the strategic use of impoverished vocabulary and elementary syntax. By degrading how we talk about politics, you limit the public's capacity for complex, critical reasoning. This makes it easy to dismiss the free press or label political disagreement as treason. Eco's most terrifying observation is this: these features contradict each other, and they don't form a coherent system, but it only takes one of them to be present for fascism to coagulate around it. The architecture for autocracy is already fully functional. If the courts, the politicians, and traditional institutions are complicit in this decay, the defense against systemic exploitation has to come from the outside. Historically, the most effective countermeasure is the coordinated, disruptive withdrawal of labor. In February 2018, nearly 20,000 public school educators in West Virginia walked out. Their pay ranked 48th in the nation. State law strictly prohibited them from striking or collective bargaining. They did it anyway. The strikers fought against specific, invasive corporate mandates. The state required teachers to use a health tracking app called Go365. If they refused to upload their personal physical metrics to the app, they faced heavy financial penalties on their health insurance premiums. The educators shut down every public school in all 55 counties for 9 days. They occupied the state capitol until the government capitulated. They secured a 5% pay raise and stopped the invasive health mandates. They didn't wait for a savior, and they didn't rely on the institutional mechanisms that had already failed them. The West Virginia wildcat strike proved that withholding collective labor is an immediate, devastating tool against state-sponsored exploitation. Just weeks later, that same realization mobilized an entirely different demographic. After the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, surviving students recognized that elected officials were not going to protect their lives from corporate gun lobbies, so they organized. The March for Our Lives movement brought hundreds of thousands of people to Washington, D.C., and roughly 2 million people into the streets globally, demanding systemic reform. They forced tangible results. Within months, activists like Axe Gonzalez and their peers helped secure nearly 50 new gun safety laws across 25 states and triggered a massive wave of voter registration among Gen Z. Michael Moore warns that those who look at the Constitution and assume it will automatically save us are kidding themselves. Democracy is not a permanent fixture. It is a continuous, active requirement. From wildcat strikes in coal country to youth marches in the Capitol, the ultimate defense against creeping fascism isn't a document, it's unyielding collective public resistance.